welcome to this video. We're going to look at how to calculate total welfare from marginal welfare. I think this video is going to become really useful for when you want to look at those welfare triangles and you're the type of student that wants to really understand them instead of just memorizing kind of where they are. So you'll be able to write in a little bit more detail when it comes to explaining that welfare triangle and explaining why welfare might not be maximized, but it still might be really high even with goods that have negative production externalities, and why welfare could actually be quite low sometimes with goods with positive externalities. So hopefully this is going to be one of the few steps to clarify that. Anyway, to work out total welfare, you want to look at your total social benefits minus your total social costs, and that means the total welfare is the net benefit to society at a given quantity of the consumption or the production of that good or service. To work out marginal welfare, take marginal social benefits minus marginal social costs, which means MSB minus MSC, and that gives you the change in welfare due to producing or consuming one extra unit. And I know with the externality graphs you've got like lots of curves, but you actually, to work out total welfare, you need to like laser focus yourself and only pay attention to the MSC and the MSB, right? Because marginal welfare is MSB minus MSC, so that's all we need, which is good. So you can kind of ignore a lot of the graph. Okay, so step-by-step process. Go from the first unit produced. I don't care if you're at Q4 or something, but I mean go from the first unit produced. So let's say you are at Q4, no, you start with Q1, start there. Start at the first quantity and go up, find the MSC, which in this case was 10. This means that the first unit cost society at 10. And then go up, find the MSB as step 2, and this is how much benefit that unit brought to society. So this unit brought 50 benefits to society, but 10 costs. And so you can kind of see that the addition to social welfare is going to be step 2 minus step 1, which is going to be 40 to social welfare, right? Because it's added 50 benefits, 10 to costs, 40 social welfare. And what you want to do is you want to add this to the previous total social welfare. Now in this case, we are just at Q1, so there is no total welfare, so the total welfare is just 40. But you want to repeat this for all quantities from Q1 as step 5. So let's have a go. Let's say that we decide to take a look at the total welfare at quantity 2. We've got to find the marginal social costs, which I'm going to guess is around 20. And the marginal social benefits, which is maybe around 40, meaning that that second unit has actually added on 20 units of welfare. And since at Q1 we had a total welfare of 40, then at Q2 the total welfare is now 40 plus 20, which is 60. So here I've got all this info in a table. You track the benefits, marginal social benefits, you track the marginal social costs for each unit in the same way that we've just done. You just kind of go up to the chart. That gets you the welfare change, and then you just got to add on the change to the previous total, and then you'll get the total welfare. Unit 3 is really interesting because the benefits, marginal benefits equal the marginal cost, so it doesn't actually add any more welfare. The welfare change is 0. Now that doesn't mean that the total welfare is 0, right? Because at Q3 you've gained all the welfare at like quantity 1, which was like plus 40. You gained all this plus 20. So if you look on the table at Q3, you actually have a total welfare of 60. So it's actually got the highest welfare in this table so far. Let's say you got this in a table. Let's say you had an MSC, an MSB, and you had to work out the total welfare at Q4. So you do the same thing. You work out the MSB, the MSC, you take the difference between them, and you get the net welfare change that each unit brought. So it's the same example. So the first unit brings 40 welfare addition. The second unit adds on another 20. The third unit, remember we said adds 0. And actually, if you go to the fourth unit, just to show you in the chart, if you were to go to the fourth unit, it actually has a cost that is like higher than the benefit to society. So that fourth unit would have actually been a bad idea because it would have started to decrease welfare. Here it decreases it by 20 because it has a cost of 40 and a benefit of 20. Which means your total welfare is actually now 40 at quantity 4. Even though you have more quantity, you've got less welfare because it's had more costs than benefits. And here we kind of get to these overarching rules, which is not really relevant to this video, but it's cool extra info, I guess, if you want. Welfare increases if you produce units where MSB is higher than MSC. Welfare is constant if MSB equals MSC. Welfare decreases if you produce units where MSB is less than MSC. So put these three rules together, tie it into the graph, and we've got like this general rule, which is a cool kind of added bonus, that you want to always be producing units that have more benefits than costs, right? Because that's always going to increase total welfare. So if you remember, the total welfare here, total welfare 1, is not as high as total welfare 2. It's much better to produce at that higher unit because it has added on more instances where the benefit was higher than the cost. But at the same time, if you were on the right hand side of this QSO, the cost would have been higher than the benefit for those units. So if you produce those units, you would have been decreasing welfare. So that doesn't make sense. You don't want to be doing that if you want to increase total welfare. So you should be avoiding all those units. So that's kind of why I've got these like arrow things telling you to avoid those units. And whenever the benefit is higher than the cost, actually produce those units. And then you kind of get an intersection in the middle where QSO is actually going to make society as best off as possible. Now, what is the total welfare at QSO? The welfare at QSO is the sum of all the marginal welfares produced so far. So that was the welfare at there, the welfare added here, the welfare added there, the welfare added there, and so on. That's the welfare at QSO. Now, if you were to produce more units, say you were to produce Q2, welfare starts to decrease by all of these bits. So the total welfare would be the white area minus the red one at Q2. And at QSO, the total welfare is the white area. Now, if I were to produce a unit, I don't know, and have more space kind of, if I was to produce a unit, say at Q3, the welfare would be lower at Q3 than at QSO. The welfare at Q3 would be only like the welfare gained up to Q3. So the Q3 welfare would be just the blue one. So again, if you want to maximize welfare, pick QSO, pick where your MSC equals your MSB, because that means you've gained all the MSB units greater than the MSC. Take a look at the next video in the series where you calculate total welfare gained, comparing total social costs and total social benefits. See you then, bye!